name is Eli Fuller. I'm 14 years old. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My mom has kept me away from my dad for practically all my life. And, well, I remember the day when he was taken away from the cop car when I was 5 years old. And after that day, I really never saw him again. It's a long and complicated story, but there's not enough time for that. So, my mom used to tell me that my dad abandoned me and he walked out on me. She used to tell me that he abused her, that she neglected her, just stuff like that. And to this day, I've kept a relationship with him on the cell phone for about 7 years that he's paid for. And it's not been too easy, I've asked my mom many times to live with my dad, and it's a different excuse she comes up with every time. But anyways, my brother David Fuller, he didn't want to live here anymore because he knew what was going on, what was happening. So he ran away and he went to the court system, and he currently resides with my father, David Joseph Fuller Jr. in Tennessee. So on December 6, 2016, I was interviewed by a court clinician named Margarita Lourdes Ariza, and I told her repeatedly that I wanted to live with my dad, and I stand firmly on this. I told her repeatedly that I wanted to live with my dad, and she understood what I was saying, and she knew what I was saying. So the court date came on February 7th, 2017, where it was Kristen Renee Fuller, my mother, and David Joseph Fuller Jr., my father, vying for my custody. So what happened is the court clinician lady had told the hearing officer, Judith Finrock, that I never wanted to live with my dad and never mentioned it. She told that to my dad's attorney repeated amount of times. It's a bit hard hearing that because we've done everything right. We've done everything we could, and we're a bit at a turning point. We're like a boat in the middle of the sea. We don't know where to go or what to do. So the court case number is D202 DM 2007-00254. It is Bernalillo County, 2nd District Courts, where all of this occurred. Thank you for watching.
On the record.
System 2007-254, Kristen Fuller, Petitioner David Fuller, Respondent, State of Mexico, HSD Intervenor. We're here today for a court clinic report back. Would you state your name for the record?
Kristen Fuller.
And are you representing yourself today?
Yes, Your Honor.
And counsel?
Andrew Ortiz for David Fuller, who is on the phone. And I believe we have a witness, Laura Walker, is on standby also.
A witness? This was set for a report back hearing.
Right.
Why would we be taking a witness?
It depends on what the clinician says. I would ask that the court reserve that just in case.
Okay, I'll think about that. Let the record reflect that clinician Margarita Ariza is present in the courtroom. Would both parties in Ms. Ariza raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Ariza, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I conducted a scheduled on-call December 6th, which included mother, father, father's partner, and the two children in this case that are left as minors. During the scheduled on-call, there was a lot of concerns that were brought up to me. It is very clear that these two children are caught in the middle of the parental conflict that exists between mom and dad. When I was interviewing both parents, Your Honor, both of them stated that it was very hard to communicate with the other. Both blamed the other for why these children haven't seen father, and neither parent really took any responsibility for their part in, why these kids haven't spent a lot of time with their dad. When I interviewed the kids, they both reported being caught in the middle of their parents feeling like they have to choose where they're going to live, like that's their responsibility. They reported sort of having some issues in terms of their emotions, feeling guilty if they choose one parent versus the other. I did let them both know that it wasn't up to them to choose, and that they would just have some time to express what's going on and sort of their preferences. Both of the children reported the parents bad-mouthing each other to the kids, and these children know a lot of information regarding their parental conflict. Mother did report that she tried not to include the kids and not to let them know, and she felt that she had done a good job of it. However, these kids know so much about the history between these parents, allegations of domestic violence. They're under the impression that mom has prevented them from seeing father, and so this is they've expressed a lot of resentment towards mom for this. And Your Honor, during the course of my scheduled on-call, it was very, very, very clear that the conflict between these parents is producing so much anxiety in these kids. I had to extend the scheduled on-call, and it went through lunch, and so as part of the lunch, parents negotiated that the kids go with dad to lunch. And upon coming back, when I was talking to one of the boys, it kind of came out in the conversation that they had not gone to the place where mom and dad had said that they were going to go. And because these parents don't communicate and they don't talk, there was no way of communicating this to mom. So what happened is I was doing my parental observations with each of the children and father individually and with mother individually. And when mom was engaging in conversation with the kids, she asked about what they had for lunch, if they had the shrimp. And both of the boys then became guarded, and I could tell from the way that they were sitting that they became anxious about saying anything about where they went to lunch for fear of dad getting in trouble or there being a parental conflict there in court clinic. I did talk to both of the parents and I let them know that this is the kind of thing that is creating anxiety in these two boys. They shouldn't have to lie about where they went to lunch with their father, and father should be able to text mom about where she went. In my communications with dad, I asked him why he didn't talk to mom, why he didn't ask for information from her, and he reported that he can't communicate with her because she ruined his reputation and put him in jail, and that he would refuse to communicate with her at all costs. That's a huge red flag, Your Honor. If there's to be any type of long distance time sharing with these parents have to be able to communicate. They have to be able to talk to each other or somehow tell each other what's going on, and not use these kids for communication. When I was doing my individual interviews with the children, they both know a lot about the conflict with the parents. They both reported some issues with dad having to leave the state of New Mexico because of mom, and they both knew information that really none of them should know based on the limited contact that they have with dad, but they do. And this issue came up about mom telling dad's current partner that that dad had given her an STD and mom sending a text. And of course, Your Honor, this is all conflict between the adults, but then it turns out that the kids knew about this, and that became very, very concerning. Again, adult topics. And when I interviewed dad's partner regarding this, she reported that she had told the kids, and the kids were told because it needed to be clarified. this case is so difficult in so many ways because we have 3 adults that are telling these kids so many things that they shouldn't know, dragging them into whatever conflict they have, and not looking at the fact that these are still young boys and they don't need to be in the middle of all of this. They seem to be, in some ways, sort of focused on their own needs, and at this point, the kids are really, really, really caught up in the middle of this. When I asked Dad about, if the kids were to move to Tennessee when he felt would be an appropriate time for them to move, he reported that they should be pulled out of school immediately without thinking about their needs or how it would affect them to move in the middle of the school year. He, in a lot of ways during my interview, sort of looked to his needs and when asking him about the best interest of the kids, he brought a lot of it back to him and what he needs in terms of the relationship with these kids instead of focusing on what might be best for these kids. In talking with Mom, she brought out a lot of concerns regarding the safety of these kids if they were to go with Dad. And a lot of it is based on sort of like historical things. So not sure if that's where Dad is now, but sort of what his past is and what he's done, and particularly when Mom and Dad were together, which is now going to be almost 7 years ago or 10 years ago. So a lot of historical stuff without current information. The question on the stop order, Your Honor, was, the children's home of choice. And these kids, in some ways, expressed wanting to be with Dad, feeling torn about staying with Mom or going with Dad. And it seems that a lot of what's going on with them is, one, trying to somewhat make up the time that Dad wasn't, make up for the time that Dad wasn't involved in their lives. And then two, based on information that they've received from Dad that, he was forced to leave the state of New Mexico by Mom, that he wasn't allowed to see the kids based on Mom, and a lot of information from Dad that actually has created a lot of resentment against Mom by these boys. So in some ways, it's Dad's influence that has really worked on these boys to have them want to go with Mom. The other question is the court being concerned about coaching or parental alienation. I didn't see any indications of coaching with these boys. In terms of parental alienation, there was some concern with Mom. Basically, it appears as though she would only allow these boys to visit Dad if it was under court order. These parents have no communication. They have zero co-parenting. It looks like Dad has a history of leaving and then coming back. So it seems as though a lot of it has to do with this lack of communication with these parents and this lack of being able to work together and sort of come to a conclusion regarding a schedule for these boys. Your Honor, in terms of the information, I believe that's all the information that I have to report to the court.
Do you have suggestions?
I do, Your Honor. I would suggest that in terms of time sharing with these boys, they need a fixed schedule. So that these boys know exactly what time they're going to be spending with their father, and that these parents also know so that they can make adequate arrangements for these kids. I would also suggest that these parents take co-parenting classes. I'm not sure about in terms of Tennessee, what resources are available. And I would suggest communication via Our Family Wizard with the tone meter on. These parents have to be able to discuss what's going on with their boys, at least for the next 4 years, and include things like grades. Dad reported not having access to the school. So, if mom does have sole legal custody, or whichever parent has sole legal custody, they can put the grades in there if that's something that's going on, and talk about these kids and do it in a way that's reasonable and efficient. And that's.
Are you suggesting sole legal custody?
I am suggesting sole legal custody, Your Honor.
For who?
For mother, for that to continue.
But you're saying that there should be some time sharing with Dad on a fixed schedule.
I am, Your Honor.
And on what schedule did you glean that the boys would be able to tolerate?
I would suggest during the summers, and then also, both boys did express not having spent any Christmases with father in quite a long time. And there's a long winter break enough for them to spend time with Dad during that time. And spring break is also another long break that they can spend time with father.
So you're suggesting some summer visitation, spring break, and shared winter break?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything further?
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
All right. So, Ms. Fuller, do you have any cross-exam?
Can we just talk to the hearing officer, Margaret, about our meeting together? I don't know if that's appropriate to bring up, and how upset the respondent was with regards whenever we tried to talk. I'm always been willing to co-parent. He blatantly told
I object. That's not a question.
This really is time for you to ask questions for Ms. I'll give you time to speak later.
Did the respondent tell you that he is not willing to co-parent? Yes. That's all I wanted to ask.
Mr. Ortiz?
During the on-call, you realized that Mr. Fuller brought his girlfriend as required, correct?
Yes.
And he had to remind you that she was there in order for you to ask her any questions, and they traveled 1,300 miles for that, correct?
I don't know that he had to remind me to interview her.
You interviewed her, correct?
I did.
Okay. After he requested you to interview her, didn't you?
I don't remember him requesting me.
And in fact, all you asked her about was why these two can't communicate together, correct?
I don't believe that's the only question I asked her. No.
Well, that's why I'm asking if we could call her as a witness. But you never asked her about the living arrangement or her relationship with David and the children, and her relationship and what she sees regarding David and his children, correct? You never asked her any of those questions, did you?
That's actually incorrect. So what she saw between Dad and the kids, I did ask her some about that she did tell me her opinion.
Eli, one of the twins, said he adamantly wants to go live with his father, and you didn't mention that to the commissioner, did you?
Did the twin tell you that?
Both of the kids expressed being torn between wanting to live with their father and staying here.
Eli specifically said he wants to live with his father, correct?
Are you asking her, did Eli say that?
Yeah. Yes, I'm asking you. Isn't it true that Eli said, I want to live with my father, and Ethan said, I don't want to live with my father, but I want to visit with my father? Isn't that true?
I don't have that Eli specifically said that. And then with Ethan, I apologize for the pause, Your Honor.
It's all right.
I'm making sure that I read down my notes. And Ethan expressed being torn between going to Tennessee and staying with me.
Any other questions?
Yes, isn't it true that when they returned from lunch, Ethan lied about where they went, and Eli told the truth?
Actually, both boys didn't really, were basically averting the truth regarding where they went.
And Mr. Fuller told you that there was traffic, so they didn't go to Saggio's. Instead, they went to the Hurricane, correct?
Dad did report that it was too busy, correct, yes.
Okay. And he also reported to you that he can't communicate with her based on a TRO that was issued in the past, and he's getting mixed messages about you wanting them to have better communication, but him being told by the courts that he's not to have contact with her.
Is there an existing DVOP, counsel?
Not right now, but he talked to you about that.
About the one
So
in the
what's the
past.
question?
Didn't he tell you he was confused about whether or not he could communicate with her based on the restraining order that was issued in the past, and now your desire that they communicate better? He had concerns about what you were telling him.
Okay, let's clarify. These aren't her desires. She's reporting to me what she discovered about their ability to communicate. Is the question, did Dad tell you that he was confused about whether he could communicate with Mom because of a prior, now non-existing DVOP?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. So that is not what Dad reported to me. He reported that he can't communicate with her. I was made aware about the previous order of protection. He didn't bring it as something that was in place or current. He reported that he was hesitant about communicating with her because she ruined his life and put him in jail.
Did you ask the children if some of the information they were actually getting was from their older son, who was Mr. Fuller was granted custody of in the past?
I didn't ask if it was from their son. I did ask if the parents badmouthed each other, and they reported that both parents did.
So, did you ask if some of the things that they shouldn't know were being told to them maybe by their older brother?
I did not specifically ask if it was being reported by their brother.
Do you agree that that might be one of the case?
I don't know.
Are you aware that after the so-called alleged incident that Mother was concerned about, the historical information that you're alluding to, that is when the son David, after that, was allowed to live with Father, and those allegations are basically old and being reused over and over again to try to persuade you?
Mr. Archie, you need to break that down. I couldn't even understand the question.
So are you aware that Ms. Fuller has used that same concern of historical data, which alleges domestic violence in the past, which was not founded, that after that incident, their son David was allowed to live with Father?
Okay, first of all, it's not whether she was aware, because she was there to discover. So is your question, what is your question?
My question is, are you aware that the historical data that
No, don't put it that way, because she's not aware, she was discovering. So
Okay.
what is it that you want to know?
I want to know if Ms. Fuller disclosed that she brought that up with regard to David, and she's bringing it up again with respect to these kids.
So if I understand the question, and I don't know if you do, did Ms. Fuller tell you that she had brought up prior DV after David went to live with him? Is that what you're asking?
No. David, she brought that up during David Jr., little David's hearing, and it's just being recycled over and over again that there's historical data, but it was unfounded at the last hearing where the commissioner allowed David to go live with his father. I just think it's being recycled for purposes of convincing the commissioner that, there are some problems with David that she's concerned about when it's actually Eli that just really wants to live with his father.
Okay, I don't hear a question in that.
So the next question I have would be, are you entirely clear that any of the information received from father or resentment towards mother is the only reason that these children are influenced?
I'm sorry?
Your statement earlier was that they received information from dad, and the information from dad created resentment towards mom. Okay? Did you ask the kids if they knew any of this information independently or from their older brother or someone else, or from mother?
So she just testified that she didn't ask the brother. She testified earlier that both parents had given them too much information.
So isn't it true then that it's not only dad's influence that wants the children to go with father, that makes them want to go with father?
Okay, counsel, she didn't say the children wanted to go with father. You're misstating the testimony. She stated that both children are very conflicted about it, and neither one of them said outright that they wanted to go with their father.
I heard her say that dad's influence makes them want to go with dad.
She reported that dad did not report that he was confused about communicating about the TRO. Dad reported he was hesitant about communicating with mom because she ruined his life and put him in jail. She testified that dad indicated to her that he was forced to leave New Mexico by mom, that mom kept the kids from him, and that information from dad was causing the children to have resentment against mom.
My next question would be that you said something about dad having a history of leaving and coming back as reported by the children or by mother?
Mother did report.
Mother did report that?
Yes, correct.
Did you follow up on that and ask why he had to go to Tennessee?
Father did report that he had to leave. Part of it was because of mom. He's under the impression he had to leave the state because of the legal issues with mom. At some point, he reported that it's also due to him losing his job here in New Mexico. That he quit aviation and finding employment in Tennessee.
And that he didn't have any family here? Did he report that to you?
He did report that he has a brother in Tennessee, in Franklin, and friends of his girlfriend, his current partner.
Did you happen to try to contact the older brother and ask him anything about the living situation with father?
David, I did.
Did he communicate with you?
He did not.
And is it normal for you and the parties in this case to hug each other?
I don't typically hug parties. No.
Isn't it true that you and Kristen were hugging each other in front of the children?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Please don't interrupt.
I don't recall hugging mother.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything further that you want to put on the record at all?
I don't believe I have anything else, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Do you want to stay or do you want to be excused?
I can stay, Your Honor, if that's okay.
All right. So were you planning on putting on any testimony? It's not really an evidentiary hearing, but...
No, Your Honor, I just wanted to state, Your Honor, that contingent on New Mexico state law that joint custody shall not be awarded as a substitute for an existing custody arrangement unless there has been a substantial and material change in circumstances. Your Honor, there has not been in this case in any capacity. think that's all I have to say for now, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you going to give any testimony from your witness?
I guess I would
From your
ask,
litigant?
can I ask Ms. Riza one question?
Of course.
Ms. Riza, isn't it true that...
Wait a minute, who are you? Oh, Ms. Ariza?
Ariza? Isn't it true that Eli told you that he would run away if it took that to be with his father?
I don't have anything in my notes that indicated that he told me he would run away.
Okay. Anything further for Ms. Ariza?
No, I would...
Okay, you can ask Mr. Fuller any questions?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Fuller, you're under oath. Now, did you hear what Ms. Ariza testified to, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so are you communicating with the children about adult matters?
I communicate with the children. I've been put, the clinician said that I was putting the children in the middle of the situation. And it's, the truth is that I've been put in the middle of the situation. I've had no contact with my children physically for 2 years. I had phone contact with them.
Mr. Fuller, the question put to you was, are you communicating to the children about adult matters? Yes or no?
I guess, Your Honor, it depends on what adult matters are. Because...
You don't know what adult matters are? You're telling me that you don't know what's appropriate for a child to hear?
Well, can I explain myself?
I expect an answer.
No.
You don't know
No,
what's
I don't.
appropriate to communicate with children?
What was your question?
I said, are you telling me that you cannot figure out what's appropriate to communicate with children?
Can you answer that?
Yes, the only thing that I'm confused about is when my children are coming to me and asking me if I abandon them, then the adult matter that I would answer them would be no. And so I have to come against with what's being told them, and I'm not going to tell them I abandoned them. And so that would be the only adult matter that I'm referencing them, that I didn't abandon them.
So what adult matter were you referencing, Mr. Ortiz?
Well, the allegations that Ms. Ariza has made.
Did you discuss the STDs with the children?
I'm sorry?
Did you discuss the STD with the children?
The STD?
Yes.
I didn't discuss the STD with the children. Mrs. Fuller called my girlfriend about the STD and stated that she was going to tell my girlfriend's daughters about it if I didn't stop pursuing custody of David. And that's
Any
the
more
truth.
questions?
Can you finish your answer, please?
The question was, did he discuss the STD with children? And he said no. So, do you have further questions?
Okay, who discussed the STD with the children then?
I don't know, Andrew. I don't know.
Okay. Now, how often do you communicate with Ethan and Eli?
I communicate with Eli every day, and Ethan only responds to me about 25% of the time now. So Ethan, like once every 2 weeks if he responds.
Are you able and willing to communicate with Ms. Fuller through the Family Wizard, which is an email format that would be disclosed to the courts so that the communication can be scrutinized later on?
Yes, Andrew.
Okay. And what were your concerns about communicating with Ms. Fuller prior to the suggestion of the Family Wizard? What were you concerned about?
When we were in New Mexico, it was a really emotional time for me, especially after the lunch episode. And and I didn't want to communicate it with at the time. I was real emotional, and I apologize to the court for that. And the clinician explained the family wizard, and it sounded like a good idea. I mean, everything's recorded, and I did agree with it when she first brought it to my attention. But then, I lost my composure. I got emotional, and I said I didn't want to communicate, with Kristen at the time. But I said it out of emotion. But the family wizard it seems like a good idea.
Could you explain to the commissioner why you brought this motion? What was communicated to you by Eli?
Eli has stated over and over, Eli is heartbroken, and he's wanted to live with me for a long time. And also, I was told Mrs. Fuller allowed me to pick up Eli from swim practice the night after December 6th, after the court clinic. Mrs. Fuller asked me if I wanted to pick up Eli from swim practice, and Eli stated to me that if he wanted to run away that night, and it was freezing cold outside, and I was afraid for him because he doesn't know anyone out there, and Eli is very independent and he's very brave, and he will, just like his brother did. He probably will, and it's not going to be influence. It's not going to be my influence.
Okay.
We told Eli not to run away.
In the event that you are granted visitation or not granted custody, what type of a parenting plan would you suggest to the commissioner?
As far as visitation,
Yes, sir.
the only thing that what I would like, and it's not that I wouldn't like more, but all I could afford would be, one plane ticket per year, which I would hope that it would be for the summers, for a long period of time rather than individual trips, because every time I go to New Mexico, it's like $1,500. I can't afford it. It just sets me back, and then I can't afford it. So if I do get allowed visitation, then, I'd like the summers just so I can have one long time with them and just have one plane ticket per year per child.
Do you have any comments about what occurred between Kristen and the court clinician during that day that you went?
Yes, I feel like I was ganged up on by both of them, and my girlfriend felt the same way. And I felt like I was asked to communicate with Kristen, and I felt like that was, first of all, Kristen doesn't communicate anything with me, and she doesn't have to because she's got full custody of the twins. She doesn't have any reason to contact me. So when I went out there, Kristen wasn't under any obligation to communicate with me at the time, and she doesn't, and she never has. So when the clinician started talking to me about communication, I wasn't required to communicate with Kristen, so I really wasn't sure, at the time. I mean, I could understand in the future if we were co-parenting or if I had partial custody, but I have zero custody, zero rights as far as being able to see the children, so I don't. There was an incident at Piccolo High School where Eli was assaulted. It's been documented. It's in the school. It's at the school. It's been documented, and I couldn't get the paperwork. And when the clinician, when she said I would remove the kids immediately, she didn't finish the statement. I told her that I was worried about Eli's assault, And I said if he was being bullied, then I would like him removed immediately. Otherwise, I didn't have a problem with them finishing the school year. And the other thing is the clinician, if she's saying that Eli testified that he doesn't want to live with me, I don't think she's being honest. Because Eli calls me every night, and my 14-year-old child has no reason to lie that he didn't say that he wanted to live here. That's all he talks about. So I don't know why this isn't being told today.
Mr. Fuller, when you tried to follow up on the assault that happened to Eli in school, did you try to communicate with Ms. Fuller?
Yes.
What was?
And she ignored me, I couldn't get any contact from her, so I called James Hewleberry, who is the 9th grade counselor at the school. I called 3 times, and he left a message on the answer machine and said he wasn't allowed to have any contact with me due to court paperwork. My son was knocked unconscious. I told my son to follow and to do the report because Mrs. Fuller apparently told the children it wasn't a big deal to just let it go. When I asked Kristen about paperwork, or when I emailed, I believe Emily that you even had emailed her about it, and she had stated there was no report filed. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense in this, and it's not adding up.
Any further questions, Mr. Ortiz? I have a 2:30 hearing.
No.
All right, do you feel the need to call the other witness?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take this under submission, and I will issue my hearing officer report.
Thank you.
All right, we are adjourned. I'm going to hang up on you now, Mr.